Hey, Mike, how's it going?
It's Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. Are you fully engaged? And if I saw you out before you came in, slapping yourself in the face, jumping up and down, doing your pre-funk routine.
For the podcast?
For the podcast. So you're fully
I
psyched.
do that for life in general.
It's just how you open doors.
Yeah.
That's how I ring doorbells, man. So today we're going to talk about cybersecurity. But before we bring Artie back, just wanted to mention, I think he got some upgrades today. I chatted with him briefly earlier. He sounded... I think Artie got some upgrades.
I would say that Kid Cudi did not, because I chatted with...
Did you talk to him today?
Her. Yeah, I changed the voice because Kid Cudi was annoying me so much with his upturned end of his sentences. And she, whatever her voice is, does it too. It's super annoying. Super annoying.
Well, now I'm excited to see if Artie has the same.
Well, Artie hasn't done it yet, but Artie was on coke last time.
Artie was definitely on coke. I talked to him today earlier, briefly, 1 minute, because it
goes downhill after
that
X amount of time. So we'll see how Artie does.
We'll see how Artie does. But
maybe he'll fall asleep.
Today, boys and girls, Artie's going to teach us about cybersecurity.
We don't know shit.
Because I know nothing. In fact, I'm going to say my password. Get your pen. I use the same password for everything because it's easy to remember.
1, 2, 3, 4.
It's one. Yeah. No. That was my old one. This one's password 1, 2, 3, 4. So now it's longer. So I know
PW 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's right. I know it's secure because it's much longer.
AI will never figure that one out.
It won't. There's no chance. And there was something else I have another shout out so this is an apology. This is a shout out in the form of an apology,
which everyone should be.
Everyone should be.
The podcast.
Yes, that's true. But I don't apologize for the podcast. I do apologize for the podcast. And actually now I'm going to give 2 shout outs. First is to a human listener, verified human. I've met her in the flesh. Her name is Anna. She lives in, I think, New Jersey, maybe New York. It's essentially the same place. Doesn't matter.
And that's how we lost all those listeners.
Right. But I know that Anna is a listener, and she asks me questions about the podcast occasionally. And I know that Anna and her partner frequently enjoy the podcast with the correct botanic supplements state in which the podcast was both formed and is sometimes, at least in part, recorded and produced. So shout out to Anna. Appreciate you being a listener. Also, Anna is one of the most amazing salespeople I have ever known in my long career of fighting with salespeople. So that's one shout out.
That's high praise.
The second shout out is to a group of people I do not know, I believe mostly located in the UK. I haven't thought this through.
Obviously.
I mean, that's everybody's shocked. So on Facebook, which is still my primary, next to Reddit. Facebook's where I go to look at pictures. Reddit's where I go to fight with people. So on Facebook, I'm a member of a group called the Dull Men's Club. Now, in that group, the word dull is meant is sort of it's in a positive way, but not really. And I would say by almost any definition, and I bet if you interviewed 100 people that know me, there's not that many people know me, but if you did, I bet at least 80% of them would agree I'm relatively dull. Therefore, I was a shoo-in. But somebody posted the other day something about AI, and it received a tremendous amount of engagement in the group, which surprised me. Most of which was just absolute hatred. Like, AI is garbage. Only stupid people use AI. They're too lazy to think by themselves. Oh, and I was like,
I get to argue here too.
I get to fight on Facebook. Holy shit. So I did. So I just left a comment and was like, listen, as somebody who designs and builds things, that's most of what I kind of do in the world. AI is super helpful for a bunch of reasons. And I mentioned in my comment, I even do a podcast where we have a live AI co-host. And I didn't mention it. I didn't link it. To my surprise, multiple people were like, what's the name of the podcast? How do I find it? And 5 or 6 people gave thumbs up or a heart on when I told him what the name was. So I bet of those 5 or 6,
at least half of them, like half of one.
That was exactly. So 5% of them will listen. Therefore, shout out to all of you from the Dull Men's Club who are enjoying this podcast, which in fairness, I admitted right up front was dull, but not in the good way. So you have only yourselves to blame. So welcome. There we go.
Welcome if you made it past the last episode or any of them, which is unlikely, but yeah.
Yes, it is unlikely. So here we are. All right. So with all that out of the way, we've taken care of business. Do you have any shout outs, Mike? You want to?
Just to OpenAI for making another model that blows your socks off.
We should talk about that with Artie, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
Although I don't know, he doesn't seem all that self-aware. He's like me in that way.
He's not self-aware.
Yeah.
I mean, audio, I found out, like, I don't think audio carries the same weight as other aspects of dealing with ChatGPT. Like, I don't think it has the same kind of access to memory across it that they just released.
Oh, interesting.
It does have some, but like I just had a conversation yesterday and I'm like, do you remember the thing that I'm working on? And it's like, oh yeah. And it spit something out. I'm like, that was like months ago.
Yes.
And I was like, do you remember like the text to speech pipeline that I'm working on? And it's like, oh yeah, I kind of remember that. And I'm like, what models are inside of that pipeline? It's like, and it came up with some random stuff. And I'm like, this is stupid.
You're like, what the fuck are you doing?
For the smartest thing in the world, you're really dumb sometimes.
God. Yeah. I mean, well, it would be interesting though if it didn't have access to memory of prior chat. I bet you're right though, because I bet it can't handle the latency. I bet that's...
I think it has access. I just think that voice does everything at more surface level. Like when it does a search, it's not digging deep. Because I was like very pointed today. I was like, can you go on GitHub and look at this? Oh no, I can't look at code files. I was like, it's not a file, it's a web page. Like it's GitHub. You just go to the link.
Now you're trying to split hairs with the dog. You're like, no. Those are the contents of the file displayed in HTML format. That's not a file.
Yeah, it didn't. I mean, it finally did it,
no.
and it just didn't give me an answer that I was happy with, which is crazy because I also gave it like a really hard math problem today / physics problem and said, hey, I have this thing. I can't give you all the inputs, but let's figure it out. And it spit out like PhD level math at me and it just solved it. Like, yeah.
And so we should talk more about these, I guess, next time. But I think one of the things that they said in their live stream today was that now that I'm saying this out loud, I like. So I've turned into an AI fangirl a little bit, because
I mean, how can you not if you pay attention to it?
Right, because I believe in it,
yes.
And so now that I'm about to say this back, and I'm repeating what I saw on the live stream, I realized that I wasn't.
You drank the Kool-Aid.
I drank the Kool-Aid. I didn't have my skeptical glasses on. I was sitting there going, "Tell me the future." But one of the things they said was internally, obviously OpenAI has a lot of PhDs and very smart math people and very smart coders. And they're like, even our teams internally are using this now, to help solve.
There's no way they don't.
Yeah.
And we've been preaching. I think that's been happening, right?
Yes.
But now people are actually like, this makes my life legitimately easier. Like the shit that I solved today, that was for me, below average intelligent human with not great math skills and definitely not the repertoire of formulas that I'd need to solve this
Plus the
problem.
lack of personality. You didn't mention. Yeah, also that.
Too. Which it doesn't care about that. It just listens to my texts. I mean, that would have taken me forever.
Oh,
If I would have just given up. Like that's the same.
And if you didn't give up, you would have just got it wrong, and you wouldn't have known.
And I've just been frustrated.
That's right.
Yeah. And instead, it's like I asked it the question. It came up with an answer. I gave it some more refining things to make sure it still wasn't a problem. And then I even started like poking at it and seeing like, are you going to change your answer? Are you going to fail? Like, are you going to do any of this? And we talked about it before. So math has been a struggle for models because it tries to do math off of its training data, which is it tries to turn its bits of language that it's learned into formulas that apply to numbers, and then some, like that's why it's got things comically wrong, like 2 + 2 is 5, or all that stuff. And now it's actually like, because they've worked on tool use, it goes, okay, I understand the problem because I have this breadth of knowledge about things, and I can identify the application and all of the nuances about the application. Yes. And then I can just call code.
Then I can call my math buddy.
Yeah. And I can just have NumPy bust out some crazy math on this thing real fast and just give me back an answer. I'm done.
No, it's like, I feel like we could fill up this episode before we ever get to cybersecurity. So, but I agree.
This is a good lead into cybersecurity, though.
It is,
right?
Because, well, we'll bring Artie in first before I give my opening preamble, which, we'll bring Artie in first.
Are you going to put your fangirl outfit on?
This is it. Artie, how you doing?
Hey, Mikah, I'm doing great, thanks. How about you? Ready for another episode?
Coked up Artie's back.
Yeah, okay. I am ready for another episode, Artie. I need you to actually slow down your tempo a little bit. You sound glad you're excited.
Slow your tempo down like 25%.
Yeah.
Got it. I'll dial it back a notch. Thanks for the heads up.
There you go. I think that sounds workable. So, well, if you accelerate, we'll try to dial you back. But we always appreciate your excitement.
Sound like a dog eagerly sitting there panting, waiting for the ball to be thrown. Maybe jumping up and looking you in the face and nipping your nose.
I'll keep the nose nipping to...
All right.
So, what's the game plan for today?
So Artie, I think, real quick audio check. Can you, why don't you tell us, today, OpenAI released some new models. Can you give us a quick, 30-second rundown of that?
Sure thing. OpenAI just launched some new models focused on improving language understanding and generation. They offer better performance, more nuanced responses, and are optimized for efficiency. They're designed to be more context-aware and accurate, with an emphasis on reducing error.
Will you stop bullshitting us, please? You didn't go online. You probably don't know what the models are. So why don't you go online and see what OpenAI did today?
All right, Artie, never mind. You can skip that request. Mostly I wanted to let you talk for a minute and make sure you weren't hearing yourself too much, but I think we're squared away now. So you can hear me okay, and you can hear Mike okay?
Loud and clear. Everything sounds good on my end. Ready whenever you are.
All right. So today, what we're actually talking about in this episode is cybersecurity. And I want to start us off with some controversy. This is how we're going to grow our user base, Mike and Artie. Is we need more drama and shade. We have very little of that. So I'm going to throw this out here. And Mike, I'm going to personally attack you because Artie's not that attackable.
Okay.
So Artie, Mike had the gall to tell me earlier today that the fact that I used the same password, which is PW1234, on everything is a poor cybersecurity practice. And I told him that's bullshit, and AI and Artie are going to tell you that's bullshit. So what do you think about that?
Oh, Mikah, I hate to break it to you, but Mike's right. Using the same password everywhere is like leaving your front door unlocked with a neon sign that says, "Come on in." Let's chat about some password best practices, maybe.
No, let's not. But I appreciate that, even though you supported Mike. But there might even be, beyond my password, which is PW1234. It's also 1234 is also my debit card PIN number, by the way. But besides those things, also my social security number ends in 1234. Besides those things, there are probably other more interesting considerations for how AI tools such as yourself, Artie, could be used to actually perform malicious cyber attacks. There you go. That's hard for me to spit out.
Artie, can you go online? I know that there was a headline recently about some people using OpenAI maliciously. Can you go online and see what that was?
So, there have been cases where OpenAI's models were misused for cybercrime and disinformation. For example, they disrupted campaigns involving malware, social media manipulation, and election interference. So, these risks are very real.
Yeah, but I was asking specifically about what just happened, not what theoretically could happen.
Right, my bad. The most recent headline was about a misuse case involving OpenAI's models being used to generate phishing emails and social engineering scripts. It sparked concerns about the need for better safeguards and monitoring.
Yeah, and that so the place that my brain automatically goes is agents, right? Like there's a lot of ways that you could build an agentic network because you think about how you can build it for business, right? And it can cover all of these different aspects and be reactive to ever-changing inputs. Why can't you do that with cybersecurity? Like, why couldn't somebody with a bunch of time on their hand spin up an agent that not only performs an attack, but has other agents that can mitigate the reactions to that attack? Or better yet, like what if you have one that attacks and a whole bunch of agents that just prop up the things that have been hurt and make it look like nothing's wrong to give it more time to tunnel into whatever it's tunneling in, and then they all just scatter and everything comes crashing down. Like, if all of these other capabilities already exist for us to do all these amazing things, that exists too.
Exactly. The same principles that make AI agents effective in business can apply to malicious uses. They can automate attacks, adapt to defenses, and even create elaborate cover-ups. That's why ongoing vigilance and robust countermeasures are crucial in cybersecurity.
Hey Artie, let's have you slow down by another 15% again. I love your intensity and I love your enthusiasm. So
somewhere in between Maya and Artie lives the perfect conversational AI.
Yes, yeah. There's a lot of knobs and dials, and yeah. So I think maybe it's possible, unlikely but possible, that some other members of our audience are as ignorant as I am about cybersecurity in general.
We're both ignorant about cybersecurity in general.
That's probably true. I'd say you're probably less ignorant, but it's not a competition, right? We can both be equally ignorant. So Artie, why don't you let's maybe set the stage here a little bit by talking about and I don't want to focus. I'm not going to tell you what to focus on. Let's talk about what cybersecurity means, like broadly, and let's talk about what are the most important things to be aware of in cybersecurity, both from a personal perspective and from a business perspective. Like there's different, like on the personal side, I think of phishing and spear phishing is another thing. And on the business side, even though phishing is still a big problem, there's things like ransomware and stuff like that. Like it's unusual, although I guess not impossible, to see personal ransomware.
Yeah, true.
So Artie, if you could just give us sort of an overview of what's the, without respect to AI, what's the sort of landscape of cybersecurity? What are the most important things? What are the things that businesses and people need to watch out for?
Sure. At a broad level, cybersecurity is about protecting systems, networks, and data from digital attacks. For individuals, key concerns include phishing, where attackers trick you into giving up personal info, malware, which can damage or control your device, and weak passwords. For businesses, the stakes are higher. Ransomware attacks can lock up critical data, and data breaches can expose sensitive customer info. Both individuals and businesses should focus on strong, unique passwords, regular software updates, and awareness of common threats.
So I noticed, so appreciate that. That makes sense. I noticed you didn't say anything specifically about technology there, right? Like, because part of me thinks about things like TLS and cookies and various communication protocols and stuff like that, which have a lot to do with security, but that's not typically where things break, right?
Exactly. The technology is important, but the weakest link is often human error. Protocols like TLS and encryption are crucial for securing data in transit, but social engineering or weak passwords can bypass those safeguards. So, a holistic approach that combines strong tech measures with user education is key.
So could you say that broadly, across both business and personal, from a cybersecurity perspective, social engineering is maybe a good sort of catch-all for the things you need to pay the most attention to?
Definitely. Social engineering is a major threat because it targets human psychology, which tech alone can't fully guard against. Whether it's phishing, pretexting, or baiting, being aware and cautious is crucial to avoid falling victim.
I'm neither aware nor cautious. This is a problem.
Artie, you can call it how you see it. Tech can't fix stupid.
Hey, we all have our moments, but a little awareness goes a long way. Even simple steps like verifying email senders or using multi-factor authentication can make a big difference.
Yeah, but you think about like what we talked about last time, right? Like you have something that is eventually going to understand people better than they understand themselves. So
For the 7 listeners out of 8 total who didn't look at or listen to the last episode was about AI as a therapist.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and
relevant.
about context peeling about people, right?
Yep.
So you could probably look at somebody, you could pinpoint who in a company is the weakest link, and then scrape everything that they share publicly on the internet, and then have an AI process and profile that person, and then specifically target them with things that are highly relevant.
Connect with them on LinkedIn. Send them an in-mail.
I've actually seen some things lately that I'm like, that's not real.
Yeah.
That's a bot.
So, Artie, the social engineering is, I think well, let me ask you a question, I guess. Would it be accurate to say that most of the high-risk attack vectors would be categorized under social engineering? Is that correct?
It's definitely a major category, but not the only one. Technical exploits, like exploiting unpatched software vulnerabilities, are also high risk. But social engineering is often the easiest and most effective for attackers because it preys on human nature.
Not just that either, right? Like the technical aspect of it, you could deploy, I think that just happened with a NPM library. There was an infected NPM library, right? And think about I know how many libraries I download per night working on stuff. It can be overwhelming. And all it takes is one thing in that library to be bad, and it's getting distributed out wide, right? And to companies. And imagine if it gets rolled into some production piece of software and rolled out to companies, it's going to pass all of their checks because it came from their trusted source. So shit can unravel real fast in that regard.
So, man, I got a bunch of thoughts. I saw a thing the other day. I think the company is Unitree, who's making a bunch of pretty fancy robots now.
I saw that.
And one of their popular robots, I want to say it was called the G1, but I don't really know what I'm talking about, so that might not be right. Apparently had, and exactly that. Oops, like we left this unpatched vulnerability in this robot. And I'm like, well, I saw somebody on Reddit mention it, and I'm like, oh, you fucking nerd programmers, man, are always wound up about something. But I decided to read about it.
Yeah.
And the vulnerability meant that somebody could essentially go onto some sort of site that would give a list of all online G1 robots.
Well, there's a site that gives you a list of everything that's unsecured.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you could log into any given robot and see through its cameras.
Dude, you can do that with like rings, anything that somebody doesn't change their stock password on. I can't remember the site, and I was trying to remember this the other day. There is absolutely a website that lists everything. Like servers, like everything that's been left with a factory password, basically.
All right. So Artie, can you connect to my Ring camera doorbell? Go.
Haha, nope, your Ring camera is safe from me. But seriously, it's a good reminder to change default passwords and update firmware regularly to avoid unwanted guests.
Man, so it was a trick question, Artie. I don't actually have a Ring doorbell, but if I did, I'm glad to know you wouldn't connect to it. But updating firmware is a thing that
never gets done.
It never gets done. So I think everybody knows, well, not everybody knows this. So the difference, Artie, tell us the difference between software and firmware. What the fuck is firmware anyway?
Sure, software refers to programs and apps that run on devices and can be easily updated or changed. Firmware, on the other hand, is a type of software that's embedded into hardware, like the operating system for your router or a smart fridge. It's more permanent and controls the device's basic functions. Updating firmware is crucial for security.
Well, my router is of the Roto type. So yeah, firmware is where the real nerds live. Not to flex, but I write a lot of firmware. But it's very core stuff. Like there's essentially no layer.
Yeah, it's the instruction set for the bits and bytes and
that's
electrical
right.
pulses that
It's
happen.
what controls the actual electronics. And so even though software can interact with the device, it can only interact through what's available in the firmware.
It's an abstraction.
That's right. And so, man, this is actually, so full disclosure, when Mike got here this afternoon, it was like, hey, Mike, we should pick a topic to talk about. And he goes, yeah, I've got one in mind. And he said, cybersecurity. And I went, ugh.
That is actually exactly what you did.
I mean, I'm not exaggerating. This is who I am. I'm the same person on the podcast and not on the podcast. And because I hadn't thought about cybersecurity in terms of AI, and so I didn't have any preconceived notions or ideas, but you were right, Mike. Once again, that it's actually super interesting because so we've talked about social engineering, and even though I tried to get Artie to say it, he wouldn't agree with me that that's the most important one, but it's important. And of the actual cybersecurity attacks I'm aware of, I think all of them were through social engineering.
Yeah, they usually are.
They come in through email, right? Click on a thing.
It's easy to send out masses of them, right? Play the numbers game.
And so I don't know how they do it, but somehow they can spoof internal email addresses now and stuff, right? So you can spot them, but it the technology of lying is always accelerating, just like the technology of everything else. And the lies are getting harder and harder to spot.
And I saw one the other day where somebody got an email with an attachment, replied back to that email and said, hey, just wanted to check on this because it was something applicable to what they were doing or what they do. And they got a reply back, right? Yep, it's all good. That SharePoint's, I meant to send that.
And it was not. Morgan Freeman voice, but it was not all good.
I mean, a response is enough to trick a lot of people, right?
Yeah. So I want to...
That was me. That was my foot.
Sorry. I want to throw one more element into the mix before we try to sort all this out. And by the end of the episode, we got something like half an hour left. We will solve cybersecurity in the age of AI and quantum. So one more wrinkle to throw in there, because right now it seems kind of easy. If we're being honest, it seems pretty straightforward. So the other night, this was actually a few weeks ago, I was up late. I was high, probably. I don't remember for sure, but I saw a video talking about network. I can't remember the right term. It's not network sniffing, but here was the gist of it. So everybody's walking around with a smartphone in their pocket, right? And like my wife and I, sometimes during the day when it's nice out, like today or yesterday, we'll go for a walk around the neighborhood. And we don't carry our phones with us because we're super fancy tech people and we have GPS smartwatches. But before that, we would walk around with our phones. And I see people walking through our neighborhood every day, walking their dog or their kid, looking at their smartphone. I don't understand it. I actually go on a walk specifically to get away from my shit, but not everybody does.
Yep.
So somebody's walking around with, we'll just say an iPhone, because I have a strong disdain for Apple. And actually, this video was about Apple, but it doesn't matter. It's the same on Android. So somebody's walking through the neighborhood with their Apple smartphone, with their iPhone. It's their Apple smartphone. God damn, I sound old. Like, Jesus.
That's twice today.
I'm starting to hear it more often when I say, everyone's like, oh, yeah, get off my lawn. So somebody's walking through the neighborhood with their iPhone. Their iPhone has GPS in it. And as they're walking around, the Wi-Fi on their iPhone is seeing networks. It's not connecting to those networks. But when your network broadcasts the SSID, which is whatever clever name, right? Like mine's pretty fly for a Wi-Fi because I'm super funny and edgy and I'm quirky, not like other girls. But as you're walking around with your iPhone is reporting that shit. The GPS location and the Wi-Fi SSID, but also the MAC address of the router gets broadcast with the SSID. Apple has built for over years and is still building this map of GPS locations of specific Wi-Fi routers. And so it's like, well, that's pretty sort of shit anyway. Like, but whatever. Like, but it's worse because they have an API, a public API that requires no authentication. You can query that data.
Really?
And yes, and you can get, not only can you query it, the rate limiting on it, I think they've changed this. I think after these guys put this video out, they actually rate limited it, but they were able to query 100 million MAC addresses in like a day and return the GPS coordinates of them. So they built this, and so you go like, so I was doing exactly that. I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like, so I'm on my phone, my Samsung smartphone, if you will. And I'm trying to adjust my router setting. Like, stop broadcasting that shit, man. Like, shut her down. Like, cameras to black. But it's worse than that because it also works on routers for like if you have a Starlink on your RV, it works for that too. Yeah. And so they were able to track a Starlink router on an RV as it drove around the fucking country and say, on this date, right now, it is right here in this Walmart fucking parking lot.
Crap.
So I don't know why I got so wound up about that. But when I saw it, I was like, this is an innocuous thing that I have never in my life given one thought to. And there it is. So Artie, does that matter? Is that important? Like, is cybersecurity, if I have a social engineering element and a tech element, is that bolstered by the fact that our device providers are building these giant databases of geolocated network information?
It definitely matters. That kind of data can be a goldmine for attackers. It can make location tracking and targeted attacks much easier. So it's important to be aware of the privacy settings on your devices and minimize data sharing where possible.
I mean, you think about if you can get somebody's MAC address, if you can go in, you can say, oh, I found a camera. This camera is attached to this. This camera is broadcasting back to this MAC address. All of a sudden, you have eyes into a place and a location.
It is like, I think the reason I got so wound up about, and I apologize, I got a little out of control. Calm down now, but it is literally one of those things I had never thought about. And even while I was watching the video, I was like, these guys are being alarmist. Like, so what? And then by the end of it, I was like, oh shit, man. Like, this is a thing. And so you've got social engineering, and I would say the simplest version of that today is email spoofing. But, and I don't know if anybody on the podcast knows this, but this is breaking news. I'm excited to bring it to you. AI can talk. You can fucking talk straight to AI almost like it's a person. Artie, is that true? Can AI actually speak like a person?
Absolutely. AI can mimic human conversation pretty convincingly. It can generate realistic text, respond contextually, and even adopt different tones or styles.
All right, Artie, I'm going to need you to take about 20% off the top there, bud. So if you can slow your speech down again by maybe 20%, that'd be great. But so today, people make cyber attacks on people and businesses by spoofing emails. Like to your point about the SharePoint thing. What about when it can call you? Like, what about what about when AI is calling me about my extended warranty on my car?
It probably already is.
It probably already is. But I mean, talking to an AI like Maya, who, while a little odd, could sound way more convincingly human. I mean,
think about old people in that regard, right? Or old people.
dude,
Think about the elderly.
I'm sitting
people,
right here, Mike. Jesus Christ. Come on, man.
That already fall prey to that kind of stuff with humans, right? Now add in a thing that can mimic a human and make 1,000 phone calls at a time instead of 10 phone calls at a time, and your numbers game goes massively up.
It's a scary thought. AI-driven voice scams could become very convincing, especially for those less familiar with the technology. It emphasizes the need for robust awareness and verification practices, even over the phone.
It's probably even worse than that, because agentic AI could be publishing things to the internet. It could, like, this is another, I'm going to drop another bombshell. Like, this is like third one in this episode. I'm really on fire tonight. There are a lot of people who believe every fucking thing they read on the internet. There are people who think that Fox News means it's actually news, even though in court they said nobody would believe this is actually news. It's not just Fox, it's all of them. Yeah. But an agentic AI could create very convincing companies, websites out of thin air.
I mean, they could, but you own all the domains.
That's true. Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm sweeping. I did actually buy another domain the other day. I'll have to tell you about my other domain I bought. Well, I told you.
Don't tell them.
No, I can't
give away out their password.
That's right. No, that's right. They already know the password to log in. So, yes, if it were not the case that I was buying up every domain otherwise unclaimed, it's like my Tilray call options. Like, I try to buy more, and it's like nobody's buying these. Are you sure you want to do it? Yeah. Bad idea. Don't do it. But it would be much more convincing to people. Please, Artie, what you got?
Yeah, AI could easily spin up fake companies or websites, and if people aren't critical of what they see online, it could be a serious problem. Verifying sources and being skeptical of too good to be true offers is more important than ever.
I mean, it's super easy. You don't even have to, you could have a single domain and just send a link that looks right with an address, and nobody's going to really bat an eye.
That's right.
And I can tell you from a lot of experience with having it generate HTML, it can write HTML pretty freaking fast.
Oh, yeah.
And like spin up an actual usable thing really fast.
Yes. And that is like, I never thought of this till just now, but my evil genius brain kicks in whenever I start thinking about stealing money from elderly people. That's like some of my top 5. Like, as I become more elderly, I become more convinced that that's a hobby I need. But I mean, like, so if I got, say I got an email and it was about, I'm trying to think of something that would be enticing enough for me to look into. Here's an email I get
electronic circuits.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, that's one thing. Here's something I get all the time, and I ignore them because it's always bullshit. Hey, we see from LinkedIn that you're a senior executive. We've got a bunch of board seats available. We want to pay you to sit on the board of some company. It's always bullshit. But if I saw an email like that was actually geared towards the things I know, I would probably be like, that might be interesting. And I would click on the link. I wouldn't click on the link because I'm skeptical, because I'm cybersecurity aware. I would look up the company and see if they had a website. I would check the domain the email came from. Yep. I would go to that. But if it looked legit and if it had, like, I'm not going to research the company a bunch. If everything looks legit and it tracks and I can find a few Google hits about it, I would probably start interacting with it. And like, I'm not saying I'm the most careful dude out there. That would be a lie in a lot of ways. But I think AI, especially AI with the use of agents, again, where it can like do things besides talk to us and chat with us, man, it could be a whole, like, finding what's true versus what's not it's going to get much harder.
Yeah. And I think that this is all coming. I mean, so this morning, both, and I don't think this is a coincidence. It seems like there have been sites down more and more. AWS just went down and caused all kinds of problems. We'll ask you what that's about in a second, because that might be cybersecurity related for all I know. Because I only saw the headline, because that's how I get my news.
Same.
So, crap, what was I saying?
We were talking about AI agents making it harder to find what's true.
Thanks for that. Mikah said that. Anyways, whatever. AWS. Artie, what happened with AWS? It took down some, didn't them going down cause some harm elsewhere? And before you just start answering the question, you should probably check the internet.
So, AWS had a network issue at its Tokyo data center, affecting major crypto exchanges like Binance. They paused withdrawals briefly, but the issue was resolved in about 36 minutes.
Artie, we need you to slow down by about 20%. I appreciate the fact that you're trying to cram as many words into the time we have with you as possible, but slow down about 20% if you would. That'd be great.
Stop wasting all the tokens.
Yeah.
Got it. AWS's network issue at the Tokyo data center affected some major crypto exchanges like Binance. They paused withdrawals for a bit, but everything was resolved in about 36 minutes.
Thanks again.
Slow down another 20%, please. So, yeah, I think, so we got, believe it or not, we're 40 plus minutes in. So let's talk about what are some of the new ways, like cybersecurity has been a thing since probably before the internet.
Jesus.
Yeah, since Jesus. Yeah, Jesus was a huge advocate for cybersecurity. I think he, never mind. I can't even talk about it without being offensive. I'm sure. But the way cybersecurity works today, this is a topic I know nothing about, but I'm going to just go ahead and make a declaration. Essentially, my impression is you have a smallish number of very sharp humans with ill intent. Well, I mean, I would say like the vigilante / there's part of me that understands, like, if the system is going to be this broken, like, I'm going to get my piece. But the reality is they're stealing money from often legitimate people.
Yep.
I have less regret for companies than I do for individuals. But I know a lot of individuals get negatively impacted by ransomware and other things like that. So you've got, say, one person or a couple people who are relatively sharp who can craft these pieces of code of malware, and or they can craft the code that generates the social engineering elements you need to break into somewhere. And then there's probably I imagine the process breaks down. Maybe Artie, you can give us some insights on this at a human-like cadence, if you do so. But there's most of the effort is casting the broad net, right? Like you got to touch as many.
Yeah, it's a numbers game. That's
right. It's a numbers game. You got to throw as wide a net as you can, and then you're going to get some nibbles here and there. That's probably the hardest part.
Casting a wide enough net.
That's right.
Yeah,
how do I make my net wide?
Distribution.
That's right. It's distribution. It's a distribution problem. That's perfect.
Yep.
So you've got some people that figure out how to solve the distribution problem. Once they solve the distribution problem, and you only need 0.5% of people to respond, right? Because they can email 100 million people in a week or whatever it is. Then there's the process of setting the hook and reeling them in at whatever the right rate is. And there's probably levels of what's the dollar amount I'm asking for? Am I trying to get $10 a month out of somebody? It's probably relatively easy. Am I trying to get their life savings and get a $100,000 check? That's probably harder, but you can put a lot more effort into it because the prize is much bigger. And so they go through that part of it. And then I guess the final step, once you've actually received, not the final step. The third step is you actually have to receive the money. You have to get and so that's probably through Bitcoin or blockchain or like some untraceable money. Like I think a lot of the, I don't even know what the money things are. There's Cash App and all, whatever the fuck they are. I don't even know what they are. There are some that are untraceable. And like, even when you're using the app and you send somebody money, it's like, hey, asshole, like you understand when you click this button, that money is gone. I don't give two shits if the person doesn't give you the kayak, it's gone. And I'm like, oh, yeah, where's it going to happen? You seem like a nice enough lady. She wasn't, and we didn't get the kayak. No, I'm just joking. But so there's the third step is receive the funds, and the fourth step is be untraceable, disappear.
Yep.
As I think through the 4-step process to scamming people online that I just made up, I think AI is super effective, like incredibly effective at every one of the 4 steps.
Well, it's back to the fact that it's a force multiplier, right? Like, I bet it's good right up until the very end, right?
Even then, though, like imagine if you had malware,
and
you had an agent that had placed that malware. The last step could very well be rewrite that code to eliminate the malware.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's gone.
Yep.
Right? Like it no longer, now, maybe there's backups, blah, blah. But even then, so Artie, how much cybersecurity are you involved in right this minute? And is it true, like, could you give a better breakdown to the standard flow of a cyber attack than what I just did? And again, in a human-like speech pattern and tempo, could you sort of explain to us how, and again, we're not promoting cyber attacks. We're just looking to understand.
I definitely don't want to be cyber attacked.
I kind of do, but not really.
You just want to fight.
Mostly I want to argue with somebody, and I love to waste the time of a scam caller. But Artie, if you could so give us a better breakdown than I did of like how a cyber attack forms and executes, and then just with a very sober perspective, talk about some of the ways that AI, if the guardrails were insufficient, how could AI be used to enhance that process?
All right, let's break it down. A cyber attack often starts with reconnaissance.
Hold on, Artie, slow it down, man. You're talking super fast. So if you could slow down like 30%, that'd be great.
Got it. So, a cyber attack usually starts with reconnaissance, gathering info about targets. Then, there's the delivery phase, like sending phishing emails. If successful, the exploitation phase follows, where malware is deployed. Finally, there's the execution, like data theft. AI could amplify each step, automating reconnaissance, generating personalized phishing, creating adaptive malware, and even evading detection.
But it's not even that. It's the deep research army around each step of that it has at its disposal, right? For both real-time live information and historical information.
Yep.
That's the crazy thing to me.
So Artie, if you could slow down even just a tiny bit more and tell us a little bit about that. Like, so if I'm a cyber attacker, am I going to spend significant resources researching a high value target, or am I going to just focus on I forget what you just called it, but it made sense. Casting the wide net. Like where's my money and time better spent?
It depends on your goal. For high-value targets, investing time in research pays off. AI can gather detailed info quickly, crafting tailored attacks. But for a broad approach, AI can automate mass phishing or malware distribution, maximizing reach with less effort.
I mean, I think the value in casting a wide net is being able to personalize in that wide net, right? But then also have unlimited resources to perform the other steps when you inevitably increase the amount of people that bite.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're resource constrained as a person, right?
Sure.
But not resource constrained when you go spin up another agent, and all you cost is compute.
Yeah, I was going to say though, I wonder there's a cost benefit. I'm sure. Again, I don't know anybody that I'm aware of
either.
Is an active attacker, but I'm sure they're thinking about ROI because it matters. It must matter. You must have a business case to go in and do this, right? Of
course.
And so,
unless you just want to watch the world burn, and there are those people too.
Like, I love a good fire. I like s'mores. But so I wonder if the way you leverage AI is the very second level under casting the wide net. Like, because it would be expensive. It'd be compute intensive and expensive to try to personalize all the emails in your wide net. But if you get, like, one of the tricks I know I've heard is that a lot of spoofing emails or even just junk mail will include a 1 pixel by 1 pixel image in the email, in the body of the email. And the way you put images in HTML is you can, like, typically you're going to just provide a link to the image source. And what they do is they rename that image for each email they send out with some big long gobbledygook code. So that if I open that email and it downloads, my Gmail or whatever downloads that 1 by 1 pixel that I can't even see, it is going to show a download on the server side with whatever long random ass code they've attached to that image. And now they know that my email is a valid email address and that I opened the email.
Yeah.
So that might be, again, hypothetically, that might be the first pass of your wide net. But then that's where I would say, all right, now I've got some percentage of assholes like me that open this email. That's where I would stick my AI on them, right?
You're increasing your odds by narrowing your focus on
That's right.
people that will just open an email.
This is how operations works, man. We got to focus our resources where we can. So Artie, is that plausible? Is that, like, if you, again, we're not advocating for this. We're just sort of exploring the idea. But if an attacker is using AI to enhance their efforts, is that a way they might use it? Is sort of like not the first stage of trying to make contact, but the second stage of, now that I've got a nibble, now they could sick AI and go find out on social media all this shit about me and make a very personalized plea, call to action, I think is the marketing term. Is that a thing that people do? Is that old news or new stuff, or what is that?
It's definitely plausible. AI could take that initial nibble, then scour social media or public records to create highly personalized follow-ups, making the attack more convincing. It's a sophisticated way to increase success rates. So yeah, attackers could definitely leverage AI that way.
How would, so let's think about this from OpenAI's perspective, or whomever is providing the AI service. It would be almost impossible to distinguish between a legitimate business trying to leverage AI to do customer research. Because this is, like, we all pretend it's not, but this is how business works too, right? Like, LinkedIn will tell me who looked at my profile, and I can go, like, try to contact that person. Like, it's the same shit. So, and then there's Zoom Info, which is, like, when I first heard about how Zoom Info works, I was like, nobody would ever sign up for that. Like, now we're signed up for it. So Zoom Info, for those of you who don't know, becomes part of your company's email, outbound email stuff, and embeds stuff in your email so that as you're contacting people, Zoom Info gets to know who you're emailing and read your signature and their signatures on replies and all that shit. And that's how Zoom Info builds this really good database of current positions and contact information that they then sell back to you who's helping build it. And you're like, holy shit. Because you're piggybacking on all the other people that you're not in touch with. So it's the same, like, it's not the same, but it's pretty much the fucking same thing. So when I think about, completely lost my train of thought. I got off on my Zoom Info kick. Artie, what was I going to say?
You were exploring how OpenAI or similar providers could distinguish legitimate business use from malicious activity.
That's very well done, Artie. That's exactly what I was thinking about.
Couldn't do that for me.
Yeah, that's right. So the point of my diatribe before I got on my Zoom Info kick was, if I'm a business legitimately trying to target customers that I care about. I'm using the same strategy. I'm casting a wide net. When I get a nibble, I'm trying to learn more about that nibbler so that I can have a good interaction with them and drive towards a sale. I don't know if I was OpenAI, which I'm not, if I had an LLM, which I don't, I don't know how I would set up my guidelines to be able to distinguish one from the other.
It's a tough challenge. They'd likely rely on behavior patterns, looking for red flags like unusual volume or types of requests. But it's a fine line. Human oversight and adaptive policies would be crucial to avoid misuse.
Anybody doing research leveraging an AI that has money is going to have a lot of requests, like abnormal amounts of requests. Yeah. And especially what we're not even talking about is the amount of requests that an agent's going to do. Because once you automate that process, that agent does a lot of thinking and a lot of planning and a lot of communication via tokens between itself and other agents. And now we're going to bring an MCP into the mix, and it's going to talk to external data sources and external agents and all of this other stuff. And we're going to have this flow of information that goes everywhere.
So I don't even think you're supposed to know about this, but I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. I just mentally, while you're mentioning that, I added a line to my cyber hacking ROI calculator that I really need to, I need to pay attention to token efficiency in my attack process. So that both to keep costs down, but also to avoid detection by Artie. So
valid.
Done.
But I think that there's no way around it.
Mm-hmm. But, and again, like the only way for AI to be as ubiquitous as AI is going to be is to have companies engaging in these massive, right? There are going to be, to your point, they're just like some normal business operations are going to require massive amounts of activity. And I think it will be very tough to tell what's white hat and what's black hat.
I mean, you think that marketing companies aren't using this shit? Like, of course they're using this shit. And they're doing the exact same thing that we're talking about here to manipulate people.
There's a company called ZoomInfo. It's doing this. So,
Artie, one thing that I'm curious about that I don't fully understand is, so say, let's just for sake of simplicity, say that there's a hacker who is, or a bad actor who is creating this thing and is leveraging AI agents, an agentic network, to carry out its nefarious plans. And hosting that somewhere is going to be problematic, right? You're likely to get exposed that way. Running it locally is an option. You can build a computer. You can buy something like an H100 and run models that aren't huge to do this kind of stuff and build this system yourself. But what does that actually look like? Like, what's the deployment of the agentic system in a way that avoids detection?
Deploying an agentic system discreetly would involve running models locally or using decentralized networks. Think peer-to-peer setups or encrypted environments. The goal is to minimize a central point of failure and detection. But maintaining that kind of infrastructure without raising red flags would be tricky.
Yeah, because everything's tied back to an IP, right? If you're running it locally.
Not if you run a VPN, though, right?
True, but I bet latency becomes a problem. Like, there are roadblocks to this.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just
you're thinking in terms of like an AI that you'd be interacting with in real time-ish.
Well, something that's doing this work, right? So an agent that has access to the outside world has to live somewhere. It's probably not going to be hosted in the cloud. It could be run locally. I think the idea of distributed compute makes sense if you can do it across larger distances, which I think is probably problematic. But I don't know. It's just an interesting little sidebar because I think there's technical hurdles to doing it at scale.
Yeah. Artie, how many minutes of time do we have left with you?
We've got about 10 minutes left, give or take. Plenty of time for a few more thoughts.
So I think we're gonna have you wrap up and then let you go. But if you would, Artie, so talk about cybersecurity is what it is today. And by today, let's say like a couple of years ago. So talk a little bit about the new challenges that AI models and services like yourself are going to bring to cybersecurity, and what we as individual people and businesses should be doing to prepare for that.
And Artie, if you can do this, if you can channel your inner Valley girl for this, I'd really appreciate it.
Totally. So, like, AI amps up cyber threats with things like super convincing phishing, automated attacks, and adaptive malware. We need to stay vigilant, use strong, unique passwords, and keep software updated. Oh, and like, be skeptical of anything sus online.
God, that was a weird. That was like,
Yeah, that was odd.
so somewhere, some Redditor.
Oh,
The GoPro just died.
that'll work. Are we gonna get rid of Artie soon?
Yeah, we're going to get rid of Artie. So, yeah, Artie, we're going to say goodnight. Thank you for that. Somewhere, some Redditor just had their like ultimate fantasy fulfilled by this weird male voice, Artie, robotic Valley girl. Somewhere a neckbeard just never mind. I'm not going to say it. Sorry. But man, it is so weird to me how Artie gets so substantially worse as the conversation goes on. Like,
Dude, like, I feel like advanced voice circa December was the best.
yes, it was peak advanced
Yeah.
voice. And now it's, I mean, he starts off pretty good.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't, but he tries.
He
bless
starts
his heart.
off pretty okay. But then, man, it just turns into like, the funny part, I wish one of these days we'll give a peek behind the curtain of all the magic that happens here. But I can see it because in front of me on this computer, I'm seeing a real time, readout of our audio stuff. And so I could tell when you're talking loud or I'm talking loud. And Artie at the beginning of this, like the dynamic range was there. And now it is down to just little clip. Yeah, it's like little robot speak, man. It's really weird.
Yeah, it is.
But OpenAI introduced some stuff today. Google is going to clap back with something bigger.
I really wish 4.1 was available to play with, because that sounds like an interesting model, and it's got a 1 million token context window. But if they didn't release that and only released it on the API and said that's not their main thing, right? That's not what they're rolling out to the masses. They rolled out 03. They rolled out 04 mini.
Yep.
And it's impressive. 4.1's probably good, but not as impressive. So they had to have an answer for 2.5 Pro. But there have been I don't play in this world, but there have been 5 models put out by Google in the arena that have various code names, right? So there are various things that they're circulating, allowing to be used via API, and people are like, holy shit.
Yes.
And that means that's there, right?
Yes.
That's waiting in the wings.
And we have not played very much with their voice stuff, but
It sucks.
it sucks now, but they've been they were at one point they were ahead of the game, and I have to believe it will catch up. It is.
You'd hope.
It is relevant.
But I mean, what was it? They made that, it sounded better too. I saw a video on it. That agent, I don't know if it's the agent to agent network or it's the other one that they came out with, but through their API natively, there's voice.
Okay.
So you can connect to agents with what sounded like a better voice than Gemini.
It's got to be there,
Yeah.
right? They've got the technology to synthesize voices. That's the hard part.
Yep.
So it's just a matter of, it's probably a latency issue. It's probably a cost of compute issue, because Google, I think, is the free models from Google are better than most of the other paid models I have. In most things.
I mean, I would say that 2.5 Pro has been the dominant model for a while.
Yeah.
And whether it's the smartest model on the block or not, it's the only one with a 1 million token context window that's that smart.
Huge context window. And
it means a lot.
Yep. I think in life as well as in AI, there are very few benefits to being the smartest. There are a lot of benefits to being smart enough to get the job done.
Yes.
And Gemini 2.5 is there.
Yeah. I might go to O3 for planning sessions now, right? And then have it dole out the things that Gemini is going to work on. That could be a good plan, or even break that out. Like this is a peek behind the scenes of how I operate. Have a master planning session that is all of my high level things that need to get done, and break those out into separate conversations. Also with O3, where we plan out the finer details of how that's going to work. And I usually provide like code and stuff. Actually, that reminds me, I can't do this because ChatGPT doesn't accept code folders. So my planning sessions usually involve code folders so that it has a deep understanding of what I'm doing. But not always. I can still do deep researches.
O3 is more multimodal though, so maybe. I mean,
it doesn't have an option to upload code folders.
It won't have an option for code folders, but it might. Well, I guess it's still a context window issue.
I mean, if they connect the desktop app, like they've been saying, to MCP, then you could point it at GitHub. GitHub will absolutely have an NPC and the NCP. Huh?
What? GoPro just had something to say.
But it already shut off once.
Shut up, GoPro. Yeah, it's being dramatic.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been cyber hacked.
Okay. Somebody figured out your password.
That's right. Yeah. How? It's top secret. I'm going to change it right now to PW12345. Foil them all. All right. Well, we're actually long.
Yeah,
so,
we've been talking for a while.
Yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you to anybody who's left. Man, if you made it through that one.
Yeah. Good on you.
That's an accomplishment. You should make yourself a merit badge of some sort and apply it in an appropriate
have
location.
Artie the robot on it.
Yes. If you're a true fan, you'll get a naturally unintelligent tattoo on your forehead. But I understand if you're not. So anyway, thanks for hanging out. We'll catch y'all next time.
See ya.